Good morning. Kumite, 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 kumite. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Do you like that blood sport intro today? Thankful to have all of our friends and listeners who are joining us live this morning. It's a pleasure to see you all. Appreciate you tuning into the Wake Up America show. Let's rise in freedom. We've got a lot to talk about today. What are you gonna learn today? Tanned, rested, and ready. Kamala Harris stands aside and stand back. What is that quote from Donald Trump? Which is the Proud Boys. Stand aside and stand ready and stand back. Whatever it is. Except this time it's the Democrats with Kamala Harris. If Joe Biden steps down, decides not to run for president for a second term, Kamala Harris is widely touted to be the replacement, which I'm sure you're all very excited about. Yes. Ugh. Hey, don't blame me. Bruce Birtwistle, Blutrike, Barney Stiles, Courtney Conover, Robbie Thurman joining us live this morning. How you doing, guys? It's nice to see the regulars here. Bruce, you above all, I think will appreciate today's bonus content because it has to do with the Canadians. If you want to see today's bonus content instead of those lousy commercials, well, actually, they're pretty good commercials because I made them, then get those Rumble Rant donations in. If you'd like to unlock today's bonus content, you know the drill. $60 raised by the end of the show unlocks the bonus content. And for those who blame Canada for all America's problems, today's, I think, will really tickle your pickle. Joni Rankin, Kermode Bear, AP for Liberty Shop joining us over there as well over at rumble.com. How are we doing, guys? Nice to see y'all. Thanks for joining us live. Today's Wednesday, which means that we're going to be talking to Judge Andrew Napolitano for Big Brain Time. We're going to, of course, talk to him about all of the spate of Supreme Court rulings that have dropped in the last week. One which we haven't covered so much that had to do with the question of whether or not you can remove homeless encampments from sidewalks. Spoiler alert, now thanks to the Supreme Court, you can. No more pee-pee on the sidewalks, no more poo-poo on the sidewalks, no more drug needles on the sidewalks. It is now legal to remove homeless encampments from sidewalks. That's really good news. So we're going to talk to the judge about that ruling. The judge might even come down on the other side of it and say, well, homeless people have a right to be on the sidewalk because they're not violating the non-aggression principle. Who knows? I don't know where the judge is going to go with it. Could be anywhere. But I want to talk to him about the Chevron deference as well, another big conservative and libertarian victory. And of course, the Supreme Court immunity case that everybody's talking about. The Democrats are saying that Joe Biden should now assassinate the Supreme Court. He should now assassinate Donald Trump. I kid you not. Democrats are actually calling for the assassination of their political opponents while accusing their political opponents of wanting to assassinate them. You can't make this stuff out. This is happening right now. This is the United States in 2024. Why are you laughing? You should be terrified. There you go. Panic and run around. It's terrifying. I don't know. See, I did the smart thing, and during COVID-19, when the interest rates, the mortgage interest rates were like their lowest that they've been in, 40 years or history, I bought a house, and I made it this so that the house was like close enough to civilization to still be able to get like a cell phone signal, but like far enough away so that like anybody approaches the property, then I can get a bead on them and stuff like that. So if civilization collapses, I think I'll be okay, but you never know. So how about you? How are you doing? How close are your neighbors? How close are you to your neighbors? Maybe you ought to get to know them a little better. Let's get to know each other a little bit better. Like Caleb Vanderfeltz. I feel like if there was the end of the world, I could call Caleb Vanderfeltz and he would make his way across town and save me and my baby. Save me, save my baby. Good morning, Caleb. Nice to see you, brother. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have Ken Schooland on the Wake Up America show. Who's Ken Schooland? Well, he's the author of a series of children's books, of which a new cartoon has been made, which is premiering this September. And guess who is the star of the new cartoon? It's me, baby. It's me, AP. I'm feeling sexy. We've got the trailer for the new cartoon. We're going to have Ken on to talk about it. I'm excited. Not only am I the star of the show, but it's also starring a bunch of other people whose names that you should recognize. People like, I don't know, Michael Malice, people like Tom Woods, a lot of other big names in Liberty that I think you'll recognize who are starring in the Jonathan Gullible series. But you know who Jonathan Gullible is? It's me, AP. Oh, yes. I'm just glad because I can finally say, oh, look at me. I get to use my nudicles. You know, those things that they put in dogs to pretend like they have testicles. You know what I'm saying, right? Hold a Joe Biden there. I get to say that I actually use my musical theater degree from college. So see, Dad, it wasn't wasted. I ended up getting a career in production after all. I'm not a total failure. Yay! Isn't that just what everybody wants? Met schooling in San Francisco, says Liberty Shindig. Sweet. I have got for you guys the trailer. I will play it for you in just a moment. I've got a billion clips of the White House making excuses for the lies that they told about Joe Biden's mental health. I've got a billion clips of Vivek Ramaswamy calling him out, being awesome. I've got a billion clips of Joe Biden looking and sounding stupid like he's going to go keel over anytime soon. I've got the Babylon Bee headlines. I've just got a billion things. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have a little bit of extra time, I hope, because to play an interview that I did yesterday. If you missed it, Donald Trump's attorney, Will Scharf, who is the guy who helped to win the immunity case, he was on my show yesterday, and I'm probably going to replay it because it was an awesome interview, and some of you may have missed it. So stick around for that. If I have time, I'm going to replay that in this first hour before we get to Judge Napolitano and Ken Schoolin. All right. Well, I've got a billion clips. Are you guys ready to go? I'm excited. I'm so happy. Here's how a conspiracy theory became a reality in just 15 months.
That President Biden's running for president. I think they just put a brain-dead, hollowed-out husk of a human being in the White House because that's more convenient for them. The risk is a thinking person could change their mind. They don't want somebody who could change their mind. They want Joe Biden.
Mark my words, Joe Biden will not be the nominee for the Democratic Party.
We know he's not even the president of the United States. He's a puppet for the managerial class. Step up and be honest about who you're actually going to put up so we can have an honest debate. Biden should step aside so we can see whether it's Newsom or Michelle Obama or whoever else.
All right,
just tell us the truth so we can have an honest debate.
The president is healthy and vigorous, fit enough to perform his presidential duties.
Fit for duty.
Fit for duty. Fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency.
Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Bro, so I mean, I love, my favorite part of this clip is actually the media, the mainstream media lying. Here's CNN, and you obviously know they're going to lie to you, right? But then who else have they got here lying?
Fit for duty.
Fit for duty says, that's CBS News, lying. Fit for duty. Here's Today Show. What is it? Who watches the Today Show? You should be watching the Wake Up America show. What is that? NBC or something like that? I have no idea. But lying. CNN lying
of the presidency.
Yes.
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Give it up for Vivek Ramaswamy. News, CBS to Kamala Harris. Some Democrats are calling on Biden to drop out of the race. What's Kamala's response?
And speaking about stakes, you just came out of a fundraiser. We know that many in your party have expressed concerns about President Biden's health. Just this morning, Congressman Doggett said that he's calling
She's so excited. Look at her face.
on President Biden to withdraw from the race, given that there's too much at stake to risk a Trump victory. What's your response to this?
Look, Joe Biden is our nominee. We beat Trump once, and we're going to beat him again, period.
Are you ready to lead the country if necessary?
I am.
She's like, she goes home and she's looking in the mirror and she's putting on their makeup and she's like, this is your day, Kamala. This is your chance. You're about to girl boss. Close to the sun, as close as one can get. And she's putting on like the Joker makeup and doing like that little cackle. She's so ready. She's tanned, she's rested, she's ready. It's like we're already having fun. I think Mighty Megatron's already having a good laugh. If you're having fun, have you clicked that like button yet? What are you doing, guys? You come in, you watch the show, you're already having a good laugh. Yeah, I got you rolling laughing to start the morning. You're in a good mood, and you can't click the like button. What is wrong with you? Okay, click that like button. If it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we've been getting a lot of new viewers and listeners lately. Click that follow button. Sometimes it's a little hard to find on the app. You got to go to the website, rumble.com/AP4Liberty. I get it. But make sure that you follow as well. Just a little like makes us all happy. Okay. Remember when Kamala Harris smiled and clapped along to a Puerto Rico protest song, but she had to stop because the aide told her that they were actually protesting her? Yeah, she doesn't have dementia. She's just not smart. Look. They're protesting her, and she's like, she's pulling that. She got those Nancy Pelosi hands. Remember when Nancy Pelosi gave Donald Trump the hands when he was like doing the State of the Union? It was like this. She's got that going on right now. Explain it to her. So they're here. They're protesting you. They hate you. They hate your disgusting face. They can't stand the way you laugh. They can't stand the sight of you. So maybe don't look like you're protesting yourself here. Her aide has to explain to her. Oh no. Okay. Nice. Okay. Yes. Very good. Come on. Well done. Yeah. I was talking to you, Corey and Callie, Mr. Watching our content, without liking the show. What's wrong with you?
The Chief Justice Roberts said that the president is not above the law. What's your take on this?
Well, let's just be clear. It's one of the foundational principles in our system of justice that no one is above the law. And when we have a candidate in Donald Trump who's openly said he'll be a dictator on day one, that he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, it is very likely that he could be immune from those kinds of acts.
Dude, that's so funny. I mean, this is the classic accuse your opponent of what you yourself are doing.
And we have to take seriously the stakes.
I mean, for the love of God, even if Donald Trump doesn't win the election this fall, you can just be damn sure guaranteed that the next 4 months are going to be pure solid gold memes, and the Wake Up America show is going to be your meme factory. You're going to get the best clips here. So if you haven't clicked like yet, shame on you. Shame. Long hand claps. There you go.
Of this election, in terms of the thought that we could have a president in the White House who thinks he's immune and able then to make decisions with that office that include weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political enemies or being a dictator on day one.
Bro, weaponizing the Department of Justice against your political enemies. What are you doing to Donald Trump? Where is Steve Bannon right now? He's in jail. You have weaponized the Department of Justice against your political enemies. You are accusing the other side of doing what you're doing. I mean, I'm just going to stay calm. I'm going to be cool. It's a little bit too early to start off with a little bit of angry rants. We're going to try and keep it fun and funny, okay? But that kind of stuff just cheeves me. I love the Babylon Bee headline. Kamala Harris instructed to stop answering all her phone calls with, "Did he die? Did he die yet? Is he dead? Is he dead yet?" Thank you, Babylon Bee. Kamala Harris recalls the meeting her New Jerseyan mother-in-law for the first time. Here we are. I like the headline from River Page, who tweeted it. Kamala actually has charisma, but it's the charisma of like a fun aunt who takes pills, not a politician, which is unfortunate. She could be thriving as the host of some Kathy and Hoda style morning show. You know what I'm saying? Good one, River Page. That was very good.
She puts
Yeah.
my face in her hand. So it's Barb and Mike, my father-in-law's Mike. She puts my face in her hand. She looks at me and she says, "Oh, look at you. You're prettier than you're on television. Mike, look at her." No.
Yeah, that would play really well for like the people who watched, the Wendy Williams show, for example. That would be like a perfect place for that kind of humor.
Swear to you. Makes you.
That's how you know when that's a fake laugh right there. Okay, so I like this one. Why does Kamala Harris consistently fail to act like a normal human being in social settings?
Imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What
Deep Thoughts by Kamala Harris.
can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been. What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What could be unburdened by what had been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be.
She wrote that in like 1998 and has just been rolling on that since then. That goes on for another 3 minutes. You know.
Unburdened by what had been. By what had
And these are repeats.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
These are all different events.
Be unburdened by what has been.
Have you ever gone back and listened to speeches from like John F. Kennedy? And you don't have to be a big JFK fan. I know a lot of people are. I never really was, but if you listen to John F. Kennedy's speeches, they were awe-inspiring in their majesty. Have you ever been to the Arlington Memorial Cemetery where the eternal flame is underneath the Lee House? And where you see, the John F. Kennedy grave surrounding him, carved into the marble, are many of his most famous quotes. From the 1960s, from today, you talk about brain drain from the founding fathers until today, and the politicians that we have of what used to be unburdened by what has been, what the future may be. Yeah. But like, call me crazy, but like, I would rather be burdened by what has been rather than dealing with the world as it is or as it can be, as envisioned by people like Kamala Harris. Even just listening to the speeches or reading the speeches of John F. Kennedy from today. I mean, John F. Kennedy, say what you will, his speeches about liberty and freedom. I mean, at the time they were dealing with the threat of Soviet communism. And so the threat to liberty and to individualism and free markets and capitalism was very much a force on force kind of a struggle. Now, international socialists and communists operate more on a guerrilla warfare style structure, and that's how they've managed to eke out many victories. But the IQ of our politicians has gone down. And I think it's probably, I mean, you have to understand, people are voting for these people. And, to some extent, I think that how would I sort of envision this? I mean, the cult of celebrity, of how much people worship celebrities, has bled its way into politics to an extent. So remember the popularity contest, prom king and prom queen when you were in high school, or for example, the student council elections. Did students in high school elect people based on for the student council based on who would do the best job at organizing the reunions for the rest of their lives, the people who were responsible, who would demonstrate, clear value to their people, right? They would show loyalty, they would be trustworthy. Hell no. They voted for the student council president and vice president based on whoever's the coolest, whoever threw the biggest ragers, or their moms would let them drink underage, right? Like Mean Girls, right? I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. Come on over and vote for my son for student council president. That's how they did that. That's how it was in high school. It hasn't changed. That's what's become. I was having a conversation with a family member yesterday about the Electoral College. It's shocking how and like, this is not like a slight against them, but I mean, this is what I see in most Americans. It's shocking how little people know about how the American system works, and most people want to change the system, but they don't understand the system. So it just kind of, it pisses me off that people who want to bring down the system that was put in place by the founding fathers don't understand how the system works. So I was like explaining to this person about how the electoral college works and how you can get involved to make change in your communities, and how the electoral college and the party system that we have set up right now encourages participation rather than just voting. The problem is that people think that they're doing their civic duty by filling in a bubble. That's not democracy, okay? That's you're literally doing nothing. The problem is we have lionized so much, especially Democrats, but like just people in general, in the United States in general, we have lionized voting, right? Showing up to vote at your ballot box every 2 to 4 years, lionized voting as the symbol of democracy, as if this is what it is. This is how we work together to make change. Well, I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. Okay, if you want to work into your community, you want to change the system, it's not the people that show up to fill in a circle on a piece of paper every 2 to 4 years. It's the people who show up to their local county meetings, look their neighbors in the face, ask them for their support to become delegates. Those delegates then go on to their regional and their state conventions. Those regional and state convention delegates then get voted on, have to meet the people of their state in their political party, their chosen political party, to then go on to their national convention, and then at their national convention, and then vote for electors there at those conventions. And then those national conventions are the ones who decide who the candidates are going to be. And then the presidential candidate goes and takes their slate of electors that were given to them from the state parties that were chosen by the people who showed up in their communities. And then that presidential candidate says, here's a list of electors, and I like this one, and I like this one, but I don't like this one. And then that we all have to hope that when those selected electors, who you will then vote for, you're not voting for Joe Biden, you're not voting for Donald Trump this fall, you're voting for their electors. And those electors are the ones who have shown up, who have participated, who have looked at their citizens in their regions and in their states and in their communities in the eyes, right, and run for that position of elector. They are the ones you are voting for. They are the ones who will come to Jefferson City this fall and vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Robert F. Kennedy or whoever else for president of the United States. So, don't get upset because, well, I feel like my voice isn't being heard. This isn't democratic. Well, your voice isn't being heard because you don't have the guts to show up to your town hall meetings and have your voice be heard and actually stand and run for election as an elector in your communities and be able to pass a sniff test. Look your community in the eyes, right? Show up. You don't have the same amount of power as a person who actually shows up in their community. If all you do every 4 years is go and fill in a circle. Hey, can I get an amen? Sorry, I got a freedom rant coming. It's almost the 4th of July. So I'm feeling very patriotic and maybe a little pissed off, okay? Because it just strikes me as selfish that people think that and the arrogance of people who show up once every 4 years to go down to their ballot box and somebody, well, what if they're disabled? They can't even get down there to vote. They're disabled. Let me tell you something. When I was a delegate at the state convention, all right, at the very end of the day, I had to get home. I had responsibilities. I had been voting all day. There were a few votes left, and there was an alternate delegate waiting in the wings to take over. And I made sure that I went over there and I picked her up out of that wheelchair and I, carried her, dragged her across the floor. No, I'm just kidding. Just pushed her in the wheelchair over, got her to take my spot, gave her my credentials, and the disabled woman in the wheelchair got to take over as a delegate. It was the highlight of her day. She had been waiting around all day. She didn't even know she was going to get to be a delegate and vote. She ended up being a delegate and vote. These are the people who make change, not the people who fill in a circle on a piece of paper. Okay. That is not, to me, that's not democracy. Democracy is not just not showing anybody who you are, not having to face your citizens, secret ballot, boom, this is just who it is. No. Real democracy, to me, small d democracy. I know we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Okay, calm down, freaks. All right, I understand. There are democratic aspects to this republic. It's a Republican form of government that has democratic aspects. Don't give me any shit. Real democracy, small d democracy, means showing up, reading the citizens of your community who also have the guts to show up, working out the problems that your community faces, electing leaders by taking a look at the people in your community and in their mettle and saying, here are the people that we trust, right? And then out of those people, someone will be chosen to be an elector, right? And that person is entrusted with the trust of their community. That's how this should work. Can I get an amen? I need to, you know what I forgot to do? I should have played this song with this rant. Should I go back and start it all over again? Citizens of America, we are faced with the monumental task of defending our freedom in the face of tyranny. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of international socialism or to take arms of liberty and oppose them. This is the question of our times, whether we, the libertarians, will fight for our freedom, will work to build up a real democratic republic where one citizen can make a difference if they show up. If you, the people, we stand together, locked arms in our communities to make America great again. Will you, citizen, stand with me, AP for Liberty, to make America great again? Will you, citizen, stand with me to fight back against the Democratic hordes? Blood alone moves the wheels of history. Behind Jair Bolsonaro speaking Portuguese, tudo bem. I can hear them in Pennsylvania. I can hear them in Wisconsin. I can hear them in Georgia. I can hear them in Virginia. And I can hear them in Arizona screaming, "Make America great again!" Up over here with the audio, and now I can't hear myself. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Okay, I'm going to go to a break. I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. I can't hear myself. You can hear me, but I can't. I'm going to go to a break. Hopefully you guys are sending in donations to watch the bonus content. We'll be right back. His massive win at the Supreme Court of the United States yesterday. Joining us now is Donald Trump attorney and Missouri Attorney General candidate Will Scharf, live right now. Good morning, Will, and congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Austin. Great to be with you. It's always fun to win at the U.S. Supreme Court. It's even more fun to win at the U.S. Supreme Court for President Donald J. Trump. We triggered a lot of libs yesterday, and it's just been a great day.
Well, congratulations. And I guess the first question that I have to ask, considering all of the discussion that's going on and Sonia Sotomayor's dissent, is Is Joe Biden planning to assassinate Donald Trump with SEAL Team 6? I guess that's perfectly legal now, right?
No, look, this is absolutely absurd. The Constitution and our system of government, we have very powerful checks in place to prevent that sort of illegal action from ever happening. But never before in the history of our republic has post hoc prosecution of a former president been deemed to be one of those structural checks. No former president in American history has ever been prosecuted. And I'll tell you, as a student of history, we've had a lot of presidents attempt to do very illegal things. So the Constitution remains robust. Our system of government remains robust. The only thing the Supreme Court's decision does yesterday, really, is it reestablishes the norm that existed before Joe Biden, that you can't just go out and prosecute a president for his official acts in office because you disagree with some of the things that he did. That's the radical constitutional innovation that we were dealing with here. And that's something the courts have rejected going back to the early republic. Marbury v. Madison, Chief Justice John Marshall says that the official acts of a president are never to be reviewed by the courts. So that's what we're dealing with here. This is a huge win for us. It's a huge win for anyone who cares about the Constitution and the separation of powers. And all of this sort of liberal meltdown we're seeing. It's Trump derangement syndrome at its finest.
So how will this affect Donald Trump's other cases?
So obviously this puts the D.C. prosecution on a slow train to nowhere. We think that case is essentially it's untriable. It's not prosecutable without the official acts that are included in the indictment. So D.C. is crippled by this. It has real impact on the New York case that went to trial over the last few months. That's because in their haste to get Trump, they actually introduced a lot of evidence of official acts during the course of that trial. Things like official statements made by the White House while President Trump was president. As a result of that, we think that New York trial verdict should be overturned. We think that a new trial should be ordered in New York. That's something that we're going to see play out over the next week and a half or so in New York. It also has real impact on the Florida prosecution. That's the Florida documents case, because a lot of the decisions President Trump made, including the designation of his personal versus presidential records, were made in his official capacity as president. So there's a potential angle for presidential immunity in that case as well. All in all, this was a massive victory. This is an issue we've been working on for almost a year now. And it was just great to have the validation that we got yesterday. The Supreme Court said, contrary to all the predictions of the mainstream media and the legal commentariat, that we were right and they were wrong, that the Constitution prohibits exactly the sort of prosecution that we've seen over and over again against President Trump in the last year.
So, Will, I guess the big question here is, and the most difficult question will be, how are we going to be able to determine what are official acts versus unofficial acts?
So the Supreme Court set out basically a three-part test. Basically, for acts that fall within the core of presidential powers, we call them the inalienable Article 2 powers, the absolute core of presidential authority. The Supreme Court says that there the president has absolute immunity, period, end of story. Then it goes on to say that for acts that fall within the legal term is the outer perimeter of presidential responsibilities, there is a presumption of immunity that attaches. That presumption can be rebutted if a prosecution can show that what it's trying to do doesn't impede on executive prerogative. That outer perimeter test comes from Nixon v. Fitzgerald. That's a civil immunity case from the 1980s. That's a well-established test. It's been litigated many times in the courts. So there we have pretty good guidance on what falls within the outer perimeter of presidential authority. And then obviously the third category is purely private conduct. For purely private conduct, a president has no immunity. There's actually a very interesting history around that notion. I know that you're a student of history, Austin. It's worth noting that I believe it was President Ulysses S. Grant was prosecuted for illegal carriage racing while he was president in Washington, D.C. He was ticketed, the equivalent of drag racing. Back then, I guess they used to race carriages through the streets. So he was ticketed for illegal carriage racing. That's purely private conduct, has nothing to do with his presidential responsibilities. So in cases like that, you can obviously still prosecute a former president. But in terms of actual presidential acts, presidential responsibilities, either they are absolutely immune if they fall within that core of Article 2 of the Constitution, or if they fall within the outer perimeter, even the outer perimeter of presidential responsibility, we now have a presumption of immunity.
I was laughing yesterday. Somebody posted that Donald Trump planned to use his presidential immunity to stream a Major League Baseball game without a license, which made me laugh. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm speaking to Donald Trump's attorney, Will Scharf, who had a massive win at the Supreme Court yesterday. He, along with Trump's legal team, Will is a candidate for attorney general here in Missouri, and he is gaining on the current attorney general. We're going to talk about that race in just a few minutes as we go over this Supreme Court case and the outcome of it. I saw some of Donald Trump's critics on the right, some of his right-wing conservative critics were saying that this means that the Biden crime family can't be prosecuted now. Ostensibly, Joe Biden would be protected under this as well, though, correct?
Well, in terms of all of the foreign corruption allegations that have been leveled against Joe Biden and his family, that's clearly private conduct. There's nothing about this opinion that would impact, for example, Hunter Biden or Jim Biden and all of their illegal acts that they've committed. With respect to official acts in office, yes, we don't believe that former presidents should be able to be prosecuted for their official acts in office. They can be impeached and convicted, and where they violate the law, they should be. But you can't have this system of political recrimination and prosecution every time a president leaves office. That's just a recipe for chaos. So with respect to Joe Biden, I'd say that everything that we've heard about the foreign deals, Burisma and China, all of that sort of stuff, first of all, it largely predates his presidential administration. And second, there's nothing in there that's presidential conduct. There's nothing in there that's relating to Joe Biden's presidential responsibilities. So certainly for all of that, Joe Biden can still be held accountable. I've said before that the Biden foreign influence peddling operation, I believe it's the greatest political scandal in American history. And I hope that Joe Biden and Jim Biden and Hunter are finally held accountable for all of the illegal things that they did.
What's your reaction to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez now calling for impeachment of Supreme Court justices after this?
Alexandria Occasional Cortex can attempt to impeach the Supreme Court justices if she wants. That's going nowhere fast. This is just an absolute liberal meltdown because the Biden campaign of lawfare against President Trump is failing. This was their trump card. They wanted to litigate out this election in courtrooms instead of trying to win it at the ballot box, because I believe they know they can't win it at the ballot box. So the greatest card the left had to play has just been taken off the table by the U.S. Supreme Court. And the meltdown that we've seen in the last 24 hours is a predictable result of that.
Did you find any irony at all in Democrats talking about presidents assassinating their political opponents using SEAL Team 6, considering that Barack Obama is the only modern president to assassinate a U.S. citizen without a trial?
You know, we made that point at oral argument that, Barack Obama ordered drone strikes that killed American citizens. What's to stop a prosecutor in, let's say, the Middle District of Florida, in Tampa, Florida, where CENTCOM is located? What's to stop a prosecutor there from indicting Barack Obama for murder? I mean, that's the natural result of what the Democrats were insisting should be the rule here. And we believe that would just destroy the republic. That if you had every former president being dragged into court and potentially thrown in prison for the very difficult decisions that presidents have to make while they're in office, it would cripple the institution of the presidency and thereby cripple the separation of powers that's central to our constitutional system. At oral argument, Justice Gorsuch said, this really isn't a case about Trump. This is a case for the ages. This is a case about the core of our constitutional system of government. And we're just deeply grateful that the Supreme Court did the right thing here and upheld the constitutional system that has served our country so well, really since the founding.
Are you of the opinion then that the authorization for the use of military force rather than a formal declaration of war for these modern conflicts is in line with proper constitutional duties when it comes to the role of the president? So the assassination of Anwar al-Awlaki by Barack Obama essentially was argued that this is a proper and necessary use of presidential executive authority under the AUMF, because most of the circles that I run in seem to think that that falls outside of the purview of the president, despite it being a congressional authorization.
So I'd make 2 points to that. First, I think America should get back to the constitutional system of declarations of war. I think that's the system our framers set up. I think it's very important that Congress has the ability through the declaration of war power to moderate some aspects of the president's authority with respect to foreign policy and war. In terms of the specific legal question that you're asking, one of the most problematic aspects of the use of the AUMF, we passed this AUMF in the immediate aftermath of 9/11 to address a very specific situation, which was an attempt to hold al-Qaeda accountable for the 9/11 attacks. What happened after that is the use by a number of presidents of that AUMF to pursue foreign policy objectives, to pursue military action that went vastly beyond that original scope of the AUMF. And I think from both a constitutional standpoint, probably more importantly, from a policy standpoint, that's just not the way things are supposed to function.
Will, I know I don't have you for very much longer, so I want to switch to politics very briefly. Really quickly, your take on Joe Biden's debate performance the other night.
I mean, America saw the truth, which is that Joe Biden is just not capable of executing the office of the presidency. He shouldn't be in office. He certainly shouldn't be on the ballot for another 4 years. And the response by Democrat aides was fascinating, that they leaked to Axios. Well, Joe Biden is great, from the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And after that, he falls off a little bit. Well, I hate to say it, but there's an awful lot that happens around the world outside the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we need a president who's able to take decisive action 24 hours a day, not just when it's convenient for him. So I think it was deeply troubling just as an American to see a president on stage be unable to string two sentences together. I think the American people see what's going on here. I think the American people saw a stark contrast between a totally in-touch, aggressive President Trump and Joe Biden, who seemed lost at times. So I think that was a great night for the Republican Party and a great night for President Trump.
I'm looking at some of the polling that we're seeing around the state of Missouri. We broadcast this show from Jefferson City. I know you're running for office to take the role of Attorney General here in Missouri. You're running against our current Attorney General, Andrew Bailey. He was appointed to this job. I know you've said here before that you think that the voters deserve to have an opportunity to vote someone into this position. And from what I'm seeing right now, you seem to be gaining on Attorney General Andrew Bailey. And obviously, you don't want to get cocky just yet, but are you feeling fairly confident about where you're at in this position in the Republican primary?
Yeah, there was a poll that came out about a week ago that shows us a point off the margin of error. We feel as though things are really breaking our way as we get around the state. Conservative grassroots are fired up. They're ready to take on Jefferson City. Really, wherever we go, we see just this surge of support coming at exactly the right time. I think we're going to have a great July, and I think we're going to have a great night on August 6th. But yeah, without getting cocky, we feel confident about where we are in this race. We think we have the resources and the ground game to compete effectively. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I mean, everywhere we go, we're just seeing these great fired up conservatives who are ready to take our state back.
Yeah, I got word the other day that you won over at least one vote in Peculiar, Missouri, where I was raised on a horse farm out on Jay Highway. And a gentleman by the name of John David Peterson has requested me to ask from you a yard sign so that he can put it out at Stonegate Farm and Nursery. So my dad was fairly impressed with you. We're hoping we might be able to get a yard sign out there if that's possible.
Yeah, we had a great event with some outstanding conservatives in Western Missouri the other night. It was great to meet your father. The problem we have with the yard signs right now is we can't keep them in stock. We keep reordering them. But we'll go to events and we'll give out 50 or 60 yard signs. I mean, everyone is getting on the train. That's a good problem to have. We also have 4x8s going up around the state. It's fun to drive around the state and see our materials, see our signs up really wherever we go. So again, we're excited about the run-in. It was great to meet your dad. He seems like just an awesome guy, obviously deeply committed to a lot of the principles that we share. So that was a fun event, and we've got a lot more coming. We're down in Springfield tonight.
Absolutely. He's my greatest inspiration. I wouldn't be the man I am today without him. Will, hey, congrats on all of the success so far. Looks like you're gaining and surging at just the right time. We wish you the best of luck. Congratulations on that Supreme Court win yesterday. That is massive. Looks like it's fairly smooth sailing. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. You know, they say if imitation is the greatest form of flattery, then Joe Biden painting his face orange today must mean that you guys are feeling very flattered. Will, congrats. Have a great day, and we'll see you again on the campaign trail.
Yep.
Hope you enjoyed that interview with Will Scharf that I conducted yesterday. That's Donald Trump's attorney. Big win in the Supreme Court. You got to give it up for that. We're going to talk to Judge Napolitano about those same issues as well as a little bit more. There was another Supreme Court decision that was handed down that we haven't discussed yet, dealing with homeless people setting up encampments, whether or not they can be removed. I'm going to talk about that this morning. You don't want to miss it. A little bit. About 12 minutes until Judge Napolitano. Slow down. It's starting to sound like Joe Biden. It's starting to sound like this, AP.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Speaking of America and its national greatness, where Eagles dare, the For Liberty shop is open for business. All of your fun, favorite patriotic merchandise that you're used to and a bunch of new stuff that you've never seen before. If you haven't gone shopping at forlibertyshop.com, you are missing out. We've got an incredible array of products. Our number one top seller this month has been Jeffersonian Java because people love caffeine, and it's Thomas Jefferson. So hot right now. Jeffersonian Java number one. People are buying up Thomas's painkiller like it's going out of style. Washington's Revolutionary Roast, Electric Elixir, and our Donald Trump Thug Life mugs to go with it, as well as How to Spot a Communist shirt, which people find quite entertaining. Before I started my coffee brand, everybody, including some people who were experts in e-commerce, were like, Austin, don't do that. It's why. And then everybody online was like, oh, why is every conservative starting a coffee brand? First of all, I'm a libertarian Republican. All right. For those who don't understand the difference, for you two, think, hard, double, retard. But if you haven't gone shopping at forlibertyshop.com, you've been missing out on some of the best coffee you've ever had in your entire life. And so many people told me, don't start a coffee business. It's too saturated. Nobody will buy it. Austin, your coffee is too expensive, blah, blah, blah. It's our number one bestseller. And Stephanie and I took the time I took a period of several weeks trying all these different coffees. I have a piece of paper that I still have stashed probably in my safe somewhere with like 1 star, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, what I thought was the most delicious of all the types of coffees. And I picked the very best of all of the coffees that we had and ranked them according to who my favorite founding fathers were. Jeffersonian Java definitely hit a top spot on that one, but my number one favorite, he's an unofficial founding father. He didn't sign the Declaration of Independence or anything, but Thomas Paine is a Colombian single origin roast that people just rant and rave about. And I know people complain to me about the prices. They're like, somebody actually sent me a long drawn out email explaining why they will never buy Founding Flavors coffee. And it was in extreme detail about how they can go to the local Hy-Vee and they can get the blueberry coffee flavor for $3 for these grounds and $4 for that and $8 for this. And I was like, yeah, I understand, Grandpa. And I know that you shop around when it comes to coffee. For you, price is like the factor. But here's the thing. Some people, they don't want the $3 coffee that was made in Tunisia or something like that, right? They want premium Colombian single origin roasts that are not only delicious, but will be delivered to their front door, will produce the kind of flavors that will have you coming back over and over again, right? Because if you're a price shopper, I can't compete, okay? And that's just, I'm not going to be able to beat those kinds of prices. But those prices that you see here on my store, that includes shipping. And if you go look for any other premium coffee, like, for example, if you go to any of my competitors, I'm not going to pull up their websites, but if you look at their costs, they'll show you the cost that doesn't include shipping, but mine does. So you see the price, that's the price you're going to get. I do offer discounts if you buy more than one box. So you do get savings. And here's the thing, for some of you who already love it, today's the day you need to sign up for a subscription and just have it delivered to your door. You already love the coffee. Today's the day to support the Wake Up America show by becoming a monthly coffee supporter. Head on over here, subscribe every month. You can save it every 2 months, every 3 months, every 2 weeks, for example. And that's a great way to have it delivered so you don't forget to stock up. Jeffersonian Java, it looks absolutely beautiful on your shelf. People who come to visit are all going to ask you about it because they're going to want to try it. And check out gorgeous Monticello right there. You aren't going to find this coffee anywhere else, only at forlibertyshop.com. Everybody who told me that it was too expensive, that I shouldn't do it, that I shouldn't get in the coffee business, too saturated, well, guess what? It's our top selling product. So give it up for AP. At forlibertyshop.com. Hunter Biden apparently has become Joe Biden's closest advisor. What the hell is going on, says the left.
New tonight, NBC News reports that first son Hunter Biden joined meetings with the president and senior staff this week in the West Wing. Reaction from senior staff described as, what the hell is happening? The White House had this explanation.
He came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep and he was in the room.
New tonight, NBC News reports that first son Hunter Biden joined meetings with the president and senior staff this week in the West Wing. Reaction from senior staff described as, what the hell is happening? The White House had this explanation.
He came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep and he was in the room.
America is a nation that can be
Wait,
defined in a
the
single
laughter
word.
button. Laugh button, Austin. No, there we go. What is going on? Oh, my God. Let's see. Yes, so apparently the crackhead has now stepped in. Last month, the New York Times called this video of Joe Biden a cheap fake. Today, they cited it as an example of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Remember this? Joe Biden looks lost. The New York Times said it was a cheap fake. Now today they're citing this as the example of cognitive decline. Thank you, Quest Fanning. It's bad when a crackhead is your caretaker. Your back taker. It's not there. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Everybody's moving. He's standing. Stop. Staring straight ahead. Stop still. I mean, I know some white guys can't dance, but for the love of God. Biden now blaming his disastrous debate performance on his international travel schedule.
Apparently, the president apologized to everyone in the room, saying this is not an excuse, but it is an explanation. And he blamed the extensive foreign travel that he did in the lead up to the CNN debate for his poor performance. Just a reminder for everyone, he did go to France for the D-Day anniversary, and then he turned right back around and went to Italy for the G7 summit. And he told the room, I didn't listen to my staff. So the suggestion there being his staff did not think this was a good idea. And then he apparently said, I almost fell asleep on stage. I just want to unpack this new explanation for a second, as the explanation for why his debate performance was so bad. I find it a little bit puzzling, and frankly, I'm not sure that a lot of people are going to find this reassuring. If anything, some folks might hear this and be, even more concerned. Yes, there were 2 foreign trips in the lead up to the June 27th CNN debate, but he returned from Italy on June 15th. The debate, again, was on June 27th. So we're talking about roughly 12 days in between when he was back in the States. And remember, a part of those 12 days, about a full week, he actually spent with his advisors at Camp David for the sole purpose of really focusing on debate prep. So why is the president falling asleep on the debate stage at the hours of 9 p.m. to 10:30?
Dude, CNN doing journalism now for the first time ever. Biden is blaming his disastrous debate performance on the international travel, but he spent a full week at Camp David before the debate. CNN's MJ Lee, I find it a little bit puzzling, she says. Well, I do too, and quite hilarious. Biden's spokesman responding to the cognitive decline.
Quote, in the weeks and months before President Biden's politically devastating performance on the debate stage in Atlanta, several current and former officials and others who encountered him behind closed doors noticed that he increasingly appeared confused or listless or would lose the thread of conversations. Have you ever heard any accounts like that or witnessed that?
No, I've got to say that doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp, he's asking tough questions, and he's speaking, I think maybe most importantly, speaking passionately about what matters to him.
Oh my God, this is so entertaining. Whoa. Oh my God, I've got a bunch of clips of Karine Jean-Pierre, and she is just doing her best to make up for all the mistakes she made in the past few weeks, calling videos cheap fakes. I don't have time to play them because guess what? It's big brain time. Judge Napolitano coming up next. He's going to react to all those Supreme Court decisions, maybe ask him a few political questions. We're going to have so much fun. Don't go away. You unlocked the bonus content, so enjoy that instead of commercials. I love you. I love you. Be right back on Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericashow.com.
1812, Winner, Summary, and Causes Vertical Bar History. The War of 1812 saw the United States confront Great Britain, the world's leading naval power, over trade restrictions and territorial expansion. British attempts to limit U.S. trade and the impressment of American sailors fueled the conflict. The young nation faced numerous defeats, including the burning of Washington, D.C., but managed to repel British invasions in New York, Baltimore, and New Orleans. These victories boosted American morale and patriotism. The Treaty of Ghent, ratified in February 1815, concluded the war without resolving many contentious issues, but Americans celebrated it as a second war of independence, fostering national pride and unity. At the start of the 19th century, Britain was engaged in a prolonged war with Napoleon's France, leading both nations to restrict U.S. trade with their adversaries. Britain's Orders in Council mandated neutral countries to obtain licenses to trade with France. The Royal Navy's impressment of American sailors further incensed the U.S. In response. The U.S. repealed the Ineffective Embargo Act and implemented the Non-Intercourse Act, targeting British and French trade. President James Madison halted trade with Britain when Napoleon hinted he would lift French restrictions. Meanwhile, Congress members like Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun pushed for war due to British maritime violations and support for Native American resistance. In 1811, Governor William Henry Harrison's victory at Tippecanoe convinced many Native Americans they needed British support to resist American expansion. Warhawks in Congress pressured Madison, leading to a declaration of war against Britain on June 18, 1812. The U.S. immediately targeted British Canada, but overestimated their readiness. British forces, led by Sir Isaac Brock and Tecumseh, captured Detroit without a fight, marking an early American defeat. American fortunes improved in the West with Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry's victory at Lake Erie in 1813, securing the Northwest Territory. Harrison recaptured Detroit and defeated Tecumseh at the Battle of Thames. The U.S. Navy managed some early victories, but Britain's focus shifted to North America after Napoleon's defeat in 1814. British forces captured and burned Washington, D.C. in August 1814. In September 1814, the American Navy's triumph at the Battle of Plattsburgh and the defense of Fort McHenry in Baltimore inspired Francis Scott Key to write the poem that became the Star-Spangled Banner. Peace talks began in Ghent, leading Britain to seek an armistice after failing to capture Baltimore. The Treaty of Ghent maintained pre-war boundaries and ended British efforts to create a Native American state in the Northwest. On January 8, 1815, unaware of the treaty, British forces attacked New Orleans, but were defeated by Andrew Jackson's troops. This victory boosted American morale despite achieving none of the war's initial aims. The War of 1812 left a significant impact, particularly for Canadians and Native Americans. For the U.S., it ended partisan disputes and ushered in the era of good feelings, diminishing the Federalist Party. The war reinforced anti-British sentiments and bolstered American self-confidence, fostering a spirit of expansionism that shaped the nation's future throughout the 19th century.
All right. Well, when I think about freedom, liberty, and independence on the 4th of July, I think of one man who has helped to shape my opinions and ideals about what I believe in, what I stand for. He's a man that for 2 years of my life, 2 of the greatest years of my life, I got to commune with, I got to have lunch with, and let me tell you, this man knows where to get the best chicken Parmesan sandwiches in all of New York. Believe me, he is the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, Judge Andrew Napolitano, and he's joining us live on Independence Day Eve. Happy 4th, well, I guess day before the 4th. Didn't they sign the Declaration like on the 2nd, actually, Judge?
Well, actually, they didn't finish signing it until the 16th, but they dated it the 4th because that was just the date on which they expected they would have a majority vote. Of course, they wanted unanimity, which they got. Not unanimity in the country, but unanimity in the Congress.
Well, Judge, it's a fascinating story, and for those who would love to relive it, the best way I always celebrate for the 4th of July every year is to watch one of my favorite musicals, 1776, the musical, which is a fascinating tale that tells the true story about how many of the founding fathers were abolitionists and did want to end slavery at the time in 1776, but had to make a deal with the devil, if you will, to make independence the central issue and not abolition, which of course led to a bloody civil war 100 years later, correct?
I don't accept that. I don't believe that slavery had anything to do with the Civil War. The Civil War was about centralizing government and seizing tariffs. Lincoln himself authorized the extension of slavery, if anybody reads the Emancipation Proclamation carefully. However, I do agree that slavery was an issue. The best book to read is actually one that is critical of Jefferson, but she's fair. That's Pauline Maier, American Scripture. This is 350 pages just on the Declaration of Independence. This is an analysis par excellence.
Excellent, Judge. Yeah, well, I will remember that, and I will take a look at that book for everyone. I recommend, though, that people read your books, which are one of my greatest inspirations for liberty. Judge, let's talk about liberty. The Supreme Court sure does seem to love it these days. Well, I guess depending on how you look at it. 3 major Supreme Court decisions have the world on fire, and Democrats are running around screaming like their hair is on fire, specifically because they now believe that the President of the United States can order the assassination of their political opponents using SEAL Team 6 and be completely and totally immune from prosecution for doing so. What is your reaction to that?
I would have dissented from that opinion. I would have either joined Justice Sotomayor's dissent or have written my own. They've created a monster in the presidency. Could Harry Truman be prosecuted for being the greatest mass murderer in the world? Yes. Should Donald Trump be prosecuted for murdering General Soleimani? Yes. I mean, I could go on and on. Not should George Bush and Dick Cheney be prosecuted for leading us into a war under false pretenses and killing 500,000 people for nothing? Yes. Presidents should have the fear of law enforcement over their shoulders before they kill people without justification, without an adequate moral basis for it. So I was very, very upset with the decision. It has nothing to do with Trump. You know, I know Trump. I like him. I think he's being untreated fairly. But for future presidents, there is nothing to restrain their totalitarian impulses because of this nonsense that Chief Justice Roberts came up with, the presumption that whatever the president does is pursuant to his official authority. I realize that the Democrats are being a little hyperbolic here, but if you read the case And if the president actually believes it's necessary to save the republic that he have somebody killed, he can't be prosecuted for it. He might be impeached, but he can't be prosecuted. That's not the presidency that the founding fathers gave us. They gave us an administrator who would make sure the laws are enforced. They didn't even give us a Department of Justice with which to do that. They hired outside lawyers to enforce the laws until after the Civil War. Now we have a potential monster on our hands, no matter who it is, unless it's Thomas Massey or somebody who agrees with you and me about the proper role of government in our lives.
Now, I just had on Donald Trump's attorney right before you. His name's Will Scharf, and he was making an argument that the question is what is an official duty versus an unofficial duty. So, for example, Richard Nixon's Watergate break-in would not fall under the purview of the proper role of the president, and therefore he could be impeached and prosecuted. But for example, an official act taken that would be pursuant to his duties under the Constitution would therefore have a presumption of immunity, because without a presumption of immunity, the president would not be able to make the kinds of decisions that would be rather than making decisions that would be in the best interest of his own country, he would be making decisions that would save his own skin.
You're talking about the modern presidency, megalomaniacal office with 3 million human beings working for him. I'm talking about a simple, stripped-down presidency, which is what the framers gave us. Yes. Anytime you use government power, you should be afraid that you might misuse it. This opinion by the Chief Justice turns that fear onto its head. Under this opinion, because Nixon ordered the FBI and the CIA to break in, it is presumed to be official, Chief Justice Roberts. If he had ordered his next-door neighbor in Whittier, California to do the break-in, it would not be presumed to be official. So all these presumptions and benefits of the doubt to big government. Government just keeps growing and growing in leaps and bounds. Listen, I said this before. I know Trump and I like him, and from time to time we speak. We said he's going to be dictator for a day. Now he can be dictator for a day with immunity and impunity.
Will this case impact his other trials and the one that previously was concluded?
His lawyers have asked for a delay of the sentencing in New York, which was granted by 2 months, for them to scrutinize the evidence to see if any of the evidence that led to his conviction there should not have been presented to the jury under this immunity. So, that presumes that this case is retroactive, and the case is silent on whether it's retroactive. The general rule of thumb is Supreme Court cases are not retroactive. B, I don't think there's much solace for Trump in the New York case, because though he signed these checks, which were part of the scheme in the White House, was clearly nothing official about signing the checks. He signed his own personal checkbook and gave it to his own personal assistant, who mailed the check to Michael Cohen. Everything else happened before he was president. The January 6th case, obviously, that's the case in which this was appealed. So now Judge Chutkan has the very difficult task of deciding what's official and what's not. These are fact questions. In the federal system, fact questions are answered by juries, not judges, meaning she's going to try and have a jury trial against Donald Trump between now and January 19th, assuming he wins the election, 2025, in order for the jury to attempt to decipher what's official and what's not official. The same issue, it's a long answer to your question, but there's a lot of cases. The same issue will arise in Atlanta and the Fani Willis prosecution. The issue will not arise in Florida in the Mar-a-Lago case. because all of those events occurred after he left the White House, and he can't perform official functions after he leaves the White House. He claims in Mar-a-Lago that he declassified the documents that he retained. Declassification under the law requires the written signature of the president. He's yet to produce that. Nobody believes that it exists. If it does exist and he does produce it, then this Mar-a-Lago case would be implicated by the immunity decision as well. I would think if it exists, he would have produced it by now.
Judge, Democrats are shockingly, I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but are shockingly calling for Joe Biden to assassinate Donald Trump and to assassinate the Supreme Court justices. They're also calling to pack the courts, but that's a separate question. Are you of the opinion then that if Joe Biden were to do so, that he would be immune from prosecution?
I can't answer that because the language is so inartful, so broad. I mean, the Chief Justice wrote 100 pages. Austin, it's gibberish. It's like a political speech that could have been given by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I can't answer that question. I will say, if he were to do something as horrific as that, the presumption would be that he was immune. Because under this opinion, anytime the president exercises official power, not signing a personal checkbook, but ordering somebody that works for him to do something in furtherance of what he says is a national interest, he is presumed to be immune. I hope that the Democrats that are saying this are just being hyperbolic as a way of expressing their dismay. I have the same dismay, but I'm not calling for murder. That would be obviously a remedy worse than the disease.
Judge, let's switch to another case, the Chevron deference. I was initially excited to see this because it pairs back the administrative state, but a close friend of mine who works for the American Legislative Exchange Council says that this could be a double-edged sword. And the reason why he said so is because there was a specific example of a man who lived in Washington, D.C., who was convicted by a local judge for the fact that he had what were called bullets. Now, these he had 80 bullets and he was not allowed to have in the district. And he won on appeal using the Chevron doctrine because he was able to point to the definition of bullets according to the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency, which is that a bullet requires a primer, a casing, and powder. His bullets were black powder bullets, which were just steel balls, and he was able to get his case overturned because he was able to point to the bureaucracy's definition of such to protect him from the tyranny of a local judge. What is your take on the Chevron doctrine? Some good, some bad, overall good, all good, all bad?
I rejoice in the demise of the Chevron doctrine. Your friend's case is an outlier. And sometimes these outliers do come along, but the Chevron doctrine unleveled the playing field. So the EPA considers a 10-foot wide, 1-foot deep mud puddle to be navigable waters because their experts told them that the water from the mud puddle goes down to the water table, and that goes out to a stream, which goes to a river, which goes to the ocean, and therefore, because it's all connected, you can't make this up. The mud puddle is navigable, and therefore the EPA can stop a farmer from building a barn on his farm, on his own property, within 15 yards of the mud puddle. When the farmer challenged this and went into court, the court, following Chevron, said, well, I have to presume that these experts know more than I do, and therefore I have to presume that the regulation and the rationale behind it is valid, and therefore you're going to lose. In that case, the Supreme Court said there's no rational basis for what the EPA did, and we're going to reverse it. The present case was also a ridiculous set of facts. Fishermen off the coast of New Jersey and off the coast of Maine are fishing for herring in New Jersey and lobster in Maine. Some maritime bureau that nobody has ever heard of limits the number of lobster and herring they can take from the sea, and says we're going to put a federal agent on your boat to go out into the sea with you and count what you take in, and we're going to bill you for the federal agent's salary. That's the case that destroyed Chevron, when the Supreme Court said enough is enough. So when you go into court prior to Chevron challenging an administrative agency, the court must presume that everything the administrative agency did was correct. Now you go into court challenging an administrative agency, and the playing field is leveled. There isn't an imbalance. The practical effect of this will be, if Congress wants to limit the number of fish you can take from the sea, if Congress wants to declare a mud puddle to be a navigable water, let them go ahead and do it, and then we can vote the members who did that out of office. But when a nameless, faceless bureaucracy does this, a bureaucracy that's there no matter which party controls Congress or who's in the White House, there's nobody to vote out of office. That's the beauty of this decision.
I sometimes feel that I might be growing cynical or jaded as I've reached middle age, but then when I see bright spots like this, Judge, it really gives me hope that there is a chance that we could potentially be free of the bureaucratic nightmare of Leviathan that has been created since FDR installed it, almost 100 years ago. Judge, one last Supreme Court case, one that not a lot of people are talking about, but I think has major implications, real world implications for every person across the United States. Big changes could be coming to our cities after a major decision from the court that gives local jurisdictions the ability to enforce camping bans even if they don't have enough shelter beds. This is Grants Pass versus Johnson, and this would allow people to essentially get rid of homeless encampments that might be set up in their small towns. What's your take on this case?
I would have dissented. I think these people have the right to sleep on a park bench or sleep on the public property. They can't sleep on my front lawn because it's private property, and I can exclude them. Sleeping is a natural function. What are they going to outlaw next? Urination? I mean, you can't punish a person because they're poor. You can move them out of the way, but you can't punish them criminally. I would have dissented. These right-wing friends of mine, and some of them, like Sam Alito, are close friends of mine, are bringing out the lefty in me. I'm going to be seeing Sam this summer, so I hope he hears these one-liners that I'm throwing out at him.
Oh boy, Judge, only you would take that stance, a right-wing stance on this issue like that. It's always fascinating. Judge, one last question here, political question. What's your take on Joe Biden's performance in the debate last week?
Well, it was sad and difficult to watch. In fact, I had to turn it off. I couldn't watch it after a while. I mean, that mentality, unless it was an act, that mentality really shouldn't be and can't be president of the United States. On the other hand, they both stand for the same thing. They're both in favor of warrantless spying on everybody. They're both in favor of endless wars. They're both in favor of borrowing trillions. The three most important issues for the presidency. Neither of them talked about fidelity to the Constitution. Neither of them talked about natural or fundamental liberty. All of them talked about the bennies they want to give away and the people they want to kill. It was reprehensible to me. But you and I are in a different world when it comes to this. The uniparty from which the two of them stem, thinks it can regulate any behavior and tax any event and kill any foe, real or imagined, and borrow any amount of money, forget about when and how it'll be paid back. I don't forget about that $1 trillion a year in interest. So the whole thing repels me. With the Grand March of Liberty, government grows. With the march of history, government grows and liberty shrinks. Thomas Jefferson, in his second to last letter to John Adams, shortly before the two of them died,
Judge, our friend Liz over in the chat brings up the 25th Amendment. Do you think that there is an argument on constitutional grounds to remove him?
Yes, but I can't imagine it will happen because the 25th Amendment, the linchpin of the 25th Amendment is the vice president. So if she does not seek to invoke it, it's not going to happen. The cabinet could want it unanimous, cabinet that he appointed. The cabinet could want it unanimously, but without her, the 25th Amendment is toothless. I don't know what the Democrats are going to do. They really have created a mess for themselves. What they should do, probably and reluctantly, is prepare for a Trump presidency.
Judge, who do you have coming up on your excellent show, Judging Freedom, this week?
Well, because it's a short week, I am quite busy today. I just had Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, a fabulous Russian analyst who's American but lives in Brussels. Professor John Mearsheimer, the soon-to-be George Galloway of the House of Representatives, Congressman Dennis Kucinich, Colonel Douglas McGregor, Phil Giraldi, Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, and Max Blumenthal. All today, every hour on the hour, except for 9 this morning, because I'm with one of my dearest friends who also taught me as well as I teaching him, and that would be you.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of the Judging Freedom podcast. Read his weekly column at judgenap.com. Judge, happy Independence Day. Thank you very much for your time.
Right back at you, Austin. See you next week, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give the judge an applause, shall we? Fascinating conversation. I hope you're enjoying it. If so, make sure you click that like button. We'd love to have your support, as well as clicking that follow button if it's your very first time here watching the Wake Up America show. We'd love to have you be a regular viewer and listener. If you are enjoying this content, then you can join us Mondays through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the show's schedule. Also, you should make sure that you download the Rumble app, okay, on your cell phones. Once you download that, search for my channel, AP for Liberty, and follow my channel directly on the app. That's going to make sure that you get a notification whenever I go live, right? Click the link in the description that you see now, or that's pinned in the live chat to download the Rumble app on your phone. It's totally free. But if you prefer to watch us on the big screen, it's also available for Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Roku, LG, and Samsung TVs. All you got to do is search for Rumble and find us, the Wake Up America show at AP for Liberty on Rumble. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And thank you to Rumble for that commercial support. We appreciate it. Okay, well, AP, using his musical theater degree, starring in a brand new cartoon series premiering in September. Let's watch. That voice sounds familiar. That scream.
Jonathan, wake up.
That choke. Who could that be? Huh?
What was that? This island keeps getting stranger.
I thought you might not be from Corumpo.
Who's Corumpo?
This whole island is Corumpo.
Hey! Huh? Welcome to Corumpo's Two Sus. Whoa! Huh? So... coming?
I think I've got one more to go here. I don't know if I've got time.
How we create an episode.
Here we go. How we create an episode of Jonathan Gullible, and I'll go get Ken Schooland. Enjoy.
Communicating the atmosphere.
All right, we got to go because I got to go get Ken Schoolin. He is the author of the Jonathan Gullible series. He's going to join us to talk about the premiere of the cartoon starring me, AP. How fun is that? We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
1812. Winner, Summary, and Causes Vertical Bar History. The War of 1812 saw the United States confront Great Britain, the world's leading naval power, over trade restrictions and territorial expansion. British attempts to limit U.S. trade and the impressment of American sailors fueled the conflict. The young nation faced numerous defeats, including the burning of Washington, D.C., but managed to repel British invasions in New York, Baltimore, and New Orleans. These victories boosted American morale and patriotism. The Treaty of Ghent, ratified in February 1815, concluded the war without resolving many contentious issues, but Americans celebrated it as a second war of independence, fostering national pride and unity. At the start of the 19th century, Britain was engaged in a prolonged war with Napoleon's France, leading both nations to restrict U.S. trade with their adversaries. Britain's Orders in Council mandated neutral countries to obtain licenses to trade with France. The Royal Navy's impressment of American sailors further incensed the U.S. in response. The U.S. repealed the Ineffective Embargo Act and implemented the Non-Intercourse Act, targeting British and French trade. President James Madison halted trade with Britain when Napoleon hinted he would lift French restrictions. Meanwhile, Congress members like Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun pushed for war due to British maritime violations and support for Native American resistance. In 1811, Governor William Henry Harrison's victory at Tippecanoe convinced many Native Americans they needed British support to resist American expansion. Warhawks in Congress pressured Madison, leading to a declaration of war against Britain on June 18, 1812. The U.S. immediately targeted British Canada, but overestimated their readiness. British forces, led by Sir Isaac Brock and Tecumseh, captured Detroit without a fight, marking an early American defeat. American fortunes improved in the West with Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry's victory at Lake Erie in 1813, securing the Northwest Territory. Harrison recaptured Detroit and defeated Tecumseh at the Battle of Thames. The U.S. Navy managed some early victories, but Britain's focus shifted to North America after Napoleon's defeat in 1814. British forces captured and burned Washington, D.C. in August 1814. In September 1814, the American Navy's triumph at the Battle of Plattsburgh and the defense of Fort McHenry in Baltimore inspired Francis Scott Key to write the poem that became the Star-Spangled Banner. Peace talks began in Ghent, leading Britain to seek an armistice after failing to capture Baltimore. The Treaty of Ghent maintained pre-war boundaries and ended British efforts to create a Native American state in the Northwest. On January 8, 1815, unaware of the treaty, British forces attacked New Orleans, but were defeated by Andrew Jackson's troops. This victory boosted American morale despite achieving none of the war's initial aims. The War of 1812 left a significant impact, particularly for Canadians and Native Americans. For the U.S., it ended partisan disputes and ushered in the era of good feelings, diminishing the Federalist Party. The war reinforced anti-British sentiments and bolstered American self-confidence, fostering a spirit of expansionism that shaped the nation's future throughout the 19th century.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Now, we get a lot of people who love to watch the Wake Up America show, and you get to see my antics and my gesticulations. And then there's some people who don't have time to tune into the live show. They're busy, but they do like to listen to the audio podcast later. And I can imagine it must be because of this mellifluous baritone. Some people enjoy it. Some people, well, they don't like me, so maybe they hate the sound of my voice. But my voice has been useful over the years in helping me to build a career in television and in radio and in film. And I will never forget the day that I told my father that I was not going to go to law school. I was going to go to acting school and be an actor. And, well, I was kind of embarrassed and kind of scared. But thank God, Dad said, it's okay, Austin. Follow your dreams. Go get your musical theater degree. And he was probably thinking to himself, oh God, that kid's never going to have a job in his life. Well, thankfully, someone decided that I was good enough to get hired, and I worked my way up throughout the years. And I always thought to myself, God, I'd really love to get into voiceover work. Well, as you saw from the video that I just played for you, my brand new cartoon series, the Jonathan Gullible Adventure Series, is premiering this September. The man who wrote the books that inspired that cartoon is Ken Schooland, and he's now joining us live from California, where it's a lot earlier than it is right here. So let's all say thank you for him joining our time, and thank you for giving me the chance to voice one of the greatest characters in libertarian literature, Jonathan Gullible. Good morning, Ken. Nice to see you, sir.
Good morning, Austin. So great to be with you. Yeah.
Oh,
and
well,
thank you for doing this voice. I got to tell you, time and time again, I keep thinking you're the perfect character. You do such expression perfectly with this voiceover, and I'm delighted. I'm so happy that you're the one that's taking Jonathan Gullible.
Well, thank you. You know, my detractors have always said he's just an idiot with a musical theater degree, so at least I can say that I'm an idiot who used his musical theater degree. Ken, it was a pleasure to do the voiceovers, but I think for a lot of people, this is going to be the very first time that they've ever heard about the Jonathan Gullible Adventure Series. So if you wouldn't mind, talk us through a little bit about the history of this work of literature and how it went from a book to now a full-blown animated series.
Yeah, gladly. The book now is available in 57 languages, but it started off in radio. I was asked a long time ago to do some straight economics commentary about the issues in Hawaii, and I didn't get much response from people about, just economic topics from a commentary point of view. So I thought I'd put it into a fantasy story. I just read Gulliver's Travels and The Little Prince, and I thought, why couldn't very, very profound ideas be put into a fun and enjoyable way and with satire? And so I started doing this dialogue on 90 seconds I had on the KHVH radio in Hawaii it's an all-news business radio station in those days. And I had 90 seconds once a week. So I started to make these little dialogues with a friend of mine. And instantly response picked up. People were interested in stories, especially satire of the policies that were ever present here. And then it seemed to be when I had a collection of all these episodes, I put them together into a book published by Small Business Hawaii. They thought they would educate the kids around schools in Hawaii. And so then it didn't pick up in Hawaii because Department of Education sort of didn't like the message, but was picked up through Liberty International. We have quite an international network of people, and they thought, wow, this is good. We need this in. The first one was in Holland. The second one was in Russia. It was the very first free market book published in Russia. We had 5,000 copies. They sold out right away, right after the fall of the Iron Curtain and the breakup of the Soviet Union. And I thought, well, we're onto something here, because people were approaching me and said, we need to learn about free market stuff in a fun way. And so Jonathan Gullible was born. He's not preachy. He's just trying to raise questions about the folly and hypocrisy and ironies of public policy. And there's plenty of that around. It's so easy to find more material.
Yeah, Ken, I think that was the thing that really stuck out to me when I was first reading the scripts, was that it wasn't preachy, because we're having this conversation now quite frequently on the right about the lack of literature and the lack of film and television that inspires libertarian or conservative ideas. And gets people interested in our ideas the same way that the communists are spending millions of dollars producing, love letters to Che Guevara, right? And the problem, of course, has been that for years, communists and socialists they're fine with losing money on and spending millions of dollars on movies that don't make money, or on art exhibits that make people angry but don't necessarily provide any value. But the challenge, of course, is for people on our side is that when we want to go to investor to make a movie about, Friedrich Hayek or Milton Friedman, they're going to say, well, yeah, but what's my return going to be? Am I going to get a tax break for all of this? And that's been kind of our Achilles heel to a certain extent, culturally on the right, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, actually, I've had some from some really generous offers to help produce an animated film out of this. But actually, the book, now published in 90 editions in 57 languages all around the world, has mostly been done just by people eager to present the ideas. And I mean, I haven't published these things. They approach me and they say, we want to do a theater. We've done actually theatrical productions in Africa, in Kazakhstan, in Slovakia, in Brazil, where they've produced a play with various episodes from the book and a cast of as much as 25 actors, touring to all the universities in Nigeria and Ghana, or all the high schools in Slovakia. And they find it's a very, very good way to get around the censors and to get around the obstacles. We've got the first free market book published in Iran since the mullah took over, since the Ayatollah took over, because the mullahs just looked at it and says, oh, it's a kid's story. Okay, go ahead and publish it. So we've been able to get around the censors and give a strong free market libertarian message to people all around the world.
You love to see it, Ken, and I know that people are going to be inspired by this message. The thing that really struck out to me after the fact that it wasn't preachy is that there's a lot of action in it. It's the kind of thing that's actually watchable. And I'm about to be a father for the first time here in a few weeks, and honestly, as selfish as it sounds, I think about how I'm going to have to watch all these boring kids shows and how there's going to be all these annoying Paw Patrol things. But when I watched the episodes of Jonathan Gullible that you all shared with me, what stuck out to me is that it's actually exciting and it's entertaining and it's a lot of fun to watch. It seems like you really focused on that for this.
Well, yeah, you've got actually the book diverges a little bit with the film, because in the film you've got to have a lot of action. You've got to have even some new characters that we didn't have in the book. In the book, it was basically a dialogue between two people, but in the book it's a lot more. And I have to give a tribute to Luke Fisher, who's a Hollywood script writer, who's been able to embellish a lot of the scenes with odd characters that just make it stand out. But you're right. Actually, I envy you being a new father. When my daughter came along, I thought, oh, this is my excuse now to watch a lot of cartoons that I felt a little too embarrassed to be watching as an adult. But I got hooked. Harry Potter was fine.
Yeah, no, true story. It was like a couple of weeks ago. I was watching some YouTube video that had some gratuitous violence and language and adult situations, and I just thought to myself, yeah, these things are going to have to go on the back burner here for a little while. So thankfully, the Jonathan Gullible series will be there, and I can explain to her that her father is the boy who's on the screen. So, give us a little bit of a sneak preview, if you will, Ken. What are some of the situations? Maybe pick a situation, one of your favorites, out of the comic or the cartoon that people are going to see. Tell us give us a little sneak preview.
As you may recall, we last left Jonathan Gullible on a remote Pacific island after his boat was tossed about by a terrific storm. One day, Jonathan was walking along this island, and these men come along dragging this woman away, and they push him aside. He's too weak to be able to help her by himself, so he runs up the trail and he comes to this clearing, and there's a man that seems to be in charge of all these other men knocking down, hitting trees with sticks. And he says, please help me rescue this woman. And he says, oh, no. She's been arrested for threatening all the jobs of all the tree workers here. What? How can she be arrested for threatening jobs of tree workers? Well, as you can see, we knock down trees by beating with sticks. Yeah, a good sized tree can be knocked down by 100 men in a good size, maybe a month. But this woman came to work today all with a sharp metal piece attached to the end of her stick, and she knocked down the tree all by herself in less than an hour. Clearly, this threat to our traditional employment had to be arrested. So Jonathan says, well, couldn't you just save time by using this hatchet and then use your time for other things? Oh, no. The purpose of work in this society is to have secure and sound employment, not to have new products. So you get this resistance to new ideas that's existed throughout history, whether it was steamboat or the locomotive or AI, all kinds of things that are new. They threat the traditional way things are, and the people who like it the way it's always been and only see that in their lives, they resist it, and they often go to government to get the newcomers out of the way.
Interesting stuff, Ken, and I'm excited to see it. So talk to us a little bit about the distribution. I know a lot of people who are following me on social media are really excited to view it. They want to know where they can see it, how they can see it. What's going to be the path to distribution here when it comes out in September?
Well, we're going to have a sneak preview at Freedom Fest next week on I think it'll be the 11th, Friday, July the 11th at the Anthem Film Festival. And then we'll have the full premiere of the full season, the first season. There's 8 episodes in the season, September the 5th. I'm not sure but we're partnering with Free to Choose Network, the people that produced the Milton Friedman Free to Choose series and a lot of other great films. And so they were going to be largely involved with the distribution with us. So actually you could get some material online. I've got the Jonathan Gullible website at jonathangullible.com that shows us about the history and how the book is being used all around the planet. And you can buy copies of it from sources online at the website. And I use it in my classes. I teach economics at Hawaii Pacific University, and I use it with my economics classes. And by the way, I think it's the most favorite book of all the students, not just because it's my book, but they can get a free copy from the PDF online as well. So they don't have to buy it, but they like it and find it entertaining, as opposed to most textbooks, economics textbooks of all, that can put you to sleep in 2 pages.
That sounds great, Ken. I'm really excited for it. It's been an honor to be a part of the project and to voice your character, Jonathan Gullible. I can imagine it's very exciting for you to see it coming to the screen as well. Good luck at the Anthem Film Festival in Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. Wish I could be there, but I got to stay close to my wife. She's going to burst any day now. Never know. But is there anything else about this project, or perhaps anything at all that you'd like to share with our listeners? Maybe we didn't cover or plug before we let you go today, Ken?
I'm pleased to say that it's been endorsed by Milton Friedman, by John Stossel, by Walter Williams, by Steve Forbes, by Mark Skousen, Walter Block. A number of great hardcore free market libertarians have been behind this project all along over the years. And so I think you'll find the message. If you ever were a fan of Friedrich Bastiat, Milton Friedman, Ayn Rand, Ludwig von Mises, Friedrich Hayek, you'll find all of their messages in here, woven into friendly stories that I think you'll have fun sharing with you. Well, I share it with my university students, but I think it's available for usable for all ages.
Well, Ken, I played a lot of supporting roles in college. I ran for president of the United States at 35, taking second place to Gary Johnson, third place when I ran for U.S. Senate in 2018, but I had to wait until I was 43 years old to finally be the leading man. Thanks to you, Ken. Ken, it was great to chat with you. Good luck with everything, and I look forward to chatting with you again really soon. Congratulations, by the way, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much, Austin.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Jonathan, wake up.
Huh? What was that? This island keeps getting stranger.
I thought you might not be from Corumpo.
Who's Corumpo?
This whole island is Corumpo.
Hey! Huh? Welcome Welcome to Columbus 2 Sioux.
Whoa, whoa.
Huh? Yeah. So.
September 5th, 2024, the Jonathan Gullible Adventure Series debuts. Get it for your kids, share it with your family. I will be a full-blown official father by that time, so maybe I'll show it to my baby. She'll have no idea what's going on in that show. Have you been enjoying the Wake Up America show so far today? Do us a favor, click that like button. If it's your very first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. The show streams live Mondays through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour tour de force of economic freedom and personal liberty. We're always keeping you caught up on what's happening in the world with some of the best interviews that you can find, political news and views, and you're also getting all the clips that are happening in the mainstream media that you're not watching so that you can see it here so that you can know what your enemies are saying. And of course, we also have a little bit of goof and a little bit of fun and sometimes talk about social and cultural issues as well. With people like Dad Bod Baboon, Joni Rankin, Mind Art, Drew Van Runkle, Liberty Shindig, Look It's Liz, Amy Jayas, LDub78, and Quest Fanning, as well as who else? I want to make sure I get everyone in there. I think we have Look It's Liz. I think we've got a great crew. When you're hanging out with us in the Wake Up America show, you're like family. We're all friends here, and I love hanging out with you guys in the morning. I just want you guys to know, unfortunately, I will be gone tomorrow. Well, what can I say? I love America. I love freedom, and I just need a day off every once in a while, okay? But we will be back on Friday to do the show, so don't be too sad. That's Freedom Family Friday with me, Steffi P, Justin Peterson for Liberty. We're going to have a lot of fun, so enjoy your day off tomorrow. Sorry we're not going to be there. You should just go back into the archive and watch another Wake Up America show episode. How does that sound? Sound good? Okay, great. Have a wonderful day. Have a great Independence Day holiday. As you exit, where are you going to guys go? Do you guys know which door to go through? You don't? Okay, well, let me just remind you, you want to exit through the Grift Shop. Yes, check out the Grift Shop at forlibertyshop.com, where eagles dare. Today's hot sellers, Jeffersonian Java Light Roast. Grab yourself a box of coffee from the shop. Right now, we're selling like hotcakes for some. I think my wife's advertisement has really done a good job. The Caucasians merchandise. People are buying the Caucasians team merch, the tongue-in-cheek team jersey for the white people, our white race, Caucasians tees. Get yours at ap4libertyshop.com. That's right, AP. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to do that for a while until I get it fixed. It's For Liberty Shop now. The number 4, forlibertyshop.com. EAS sounds like ease. Thank you, Amy. Jeez, Amy. It was nice to meet you, by the way, Amy. It's your first time here. We're glad to have you. Hope we'll see you again on Friday. Have a wonderful Independence Day. We love America. We love you on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Bye, guys.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit PetersonVoiceStudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beams here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com.